Okay, so welcome. Today I've got only ladies. Actually, so far, all my conversations have been with ladies. So as we go on, we will begin to have other people also joining us. So I was thinking, in terms of the different topics that we have. And then for today, I thought let us talk a little bit about bereavement, you know. So you will also note, as I indicated in my notes that I sent to you, that everyone who is on this group has experienced some kind of a loss in one way or the other. As a matter of fact, as people, we always experience a kind of loss one way or the other. So when I was looking up at issues, the differences between grief and mourning and so on, I'm just going to read here. It says that grief is personal experience of loss of a loved one. So if we talk about death, it brings that loss and it deprives us of the intimacy, the companionship, the things that we used to do with the person that has passed on. And then that's when we experience bereavement. Actually, bereavement is what happens even beyond we're done with the funerals and with all those things. So I thought, yeah, let's spill the tea and have a conversation about your experiences on the topic of bereavement. I know that maybe some of you, it might not have been an easy thing, and you only experience that loss and the effects and the impact thereof after some time, after we have maybe long buried the person and then we have to face life alone. So who wants to start sharing?
Okay, I will start. My experience that I would like to share with you is that over and above dealing with the loss, there are also other after effects that
Mm,
comes from society, expectations from society, uh, trying to adjust your life to deal with the loss of this person that you've just lost.
mm,
With me, after the loss of my husband, as we all know as Africans, that we've got a culture that when you are mourning, you wearing black.
mm,
Even in shops, you'll be treated so unfairly that people don't want to touch you.
mm,
People are distancing themselves from you as if now you are the bearer of death. You are carrying death on your shoulders. And also in a workplace situation, I was after the loss, I was so depressed that I was even admitted in a psychiatric.
mm. Okay, I see you've muted yourself. Okay.
Okay, I'm back. Exhausted my leave days. That was pain after pain.
Mm,
So it goes very deep.
sure. So in your case, you say you even had to be hospitalized because it was very difficult to cope.
To cope. Yes.
Mm, mm. Okay. Maybe let's then hear from Dimple.
Yes, hey, losing the person that is very close to you is a very difficult thing.
Mm,
Um, to my experience is, in 2018, I lost my mom, and she was not sick; she just passed on. But because I had my husband on my side, I was very
mm,
strong to stand and say, no, it's time. And with my mother's bereavement and grieving, it went so well, but because I had somebody that I was leaning on. knowing that God is on my side, you know, it was not that difficult to accept. And then it went on. 3 months later, I lost my aunt. 3 months after my aunt comes my other aunt. And then last year, now my husband got sick. I had to deal with it. And, you know, it started to be heavy now. When I lost my husband this year in January, it was like I'm broken. I was shattered. And moreover, after you bury the person, it's where the reality comes now. And that's where the more pain comes, because now you're facing all this alone. It's where you start to ask yourself questions. Why me? Why this? Maybe I could have done better. Maybe I didn't pray enough. Maybe, you know, you start to question and try to seek answers, but you cannot, because you know God does his things in his
It's
own
in
way.
its own way. That's right.
And it must start with you first to say, now I must face the situation. And it's really not the good thing. Like she said, when you go to the malls with this, you can even see my attire, you know, you're not even used to it. It's not even comfortable, but you have to, because sometimes you'd say you don't want it, but I saw it has a meaning of some kind beside the religion you believe, but it has a kind of some discipline. It has a kind of, you know, something inside of it, you know, not to really to be identified as a widow, but you know, it puts some discipline of you not being able to do other things like any normal person. So really, this is not a good thing, I'm telling you.
But would you
And
say that that attire is also your way of maybe respecting your husband, or how do you interpret when self apart from the society and so on? How do you interpret that attire?
you know, the attire is now I see it's as, you know, it's a normal clothing, but once we apara and put it on, it
Mm.
it makes something, what yeah, humble.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
become meek,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then you don't behave like any other person.
That's right.
Koro
Yeah.
yeah, it humbles you, and to your lowest level, not just humbling you, to your
Mm.
level, because there are other things that you cannot do. You know, you
Okay.
cannot scream at people, you cannot talk loud. Even if a person makes you too angry, like the
Mm.
Bible say, one slaps you on the other hand, you give the
Mm.
other side. It does the same. So
Mm.
it teaches you more deeper of getting into you,
Mm.
and you know, knowing who you are and why were you in
Mm.
this relationship. So
Mm.
for me, at some kind, I didn't understand why that we must put on this, and you know,
Mm.
people will identify me as a widow. But you know, a week later, I realized that no, this thing why people, older people put it the way they did, it's, you know, to humble you, to,
Mm.
you know, you must be disciplined and deeply disciplined.
Mm. Irene?
I would like to share the same sentiments as Des is saying. It allows you to be in that space where you deal with your emotions so
Mm.
intensely.
Mm.
And with me, funny enough, we had this discussions with my late husband
Okay.
that if one of us had to pass on, what do I expect from you and how will I deal with the situation?
Mm.
He told me his viewpoint was that as someone who is in the corporate world
Mm.
and working, and if it happens that I pass on, you'll be expected to go back to the to the work situation. I don't expect you to be wearing such. But after the incident happened, I was the one who decided that I want to do this for him. And I was not in a space of wearing my normal clothes and, you know, and be vibrant out there and with colorful clothes. I wanted this black color that, you know, shows my emotions, shows the space in which I am.
I think from what the two of you are saying, my thinking is that it also helps you because it protects you from people just talking to you in any way and, you know, being rough or being excited and so on. Because once they see you with those clothes, then they begin to also, I hear you saying they distance themselves from you. But most of the time, maybe some people will distance themselves because they do not know how to deal with a person that is in mourning. But it also gives you an opportunity to have your own personal space if we look at the positive side of it, you know, because if I want to talk to you and I see that you're in mourning, I'm sure I would rather come closer to you and talk to you in a respectful way rather than just, you know, as if I would if you were not, I was not able to identify that, you know, you are dressed in this way, you are still in that period of mourning. So as we move on from the period of mourning, I see Nziki has joined us. Welcome, Chief. So let us talk about then, in terms of the relationships that I have said with the person, what would you say are missed opportunities? You know, and I want to bring Ora in as well. Ora is a young woman. She will also share her story with us. What would you say are the missed opportunities that you sometimes think about or you long for?
I think for me it's difficult because I'm not like I haven't fully experienced life, you know. So I think each year you grow and there are new things that you discover and you want to share, but you have no one to share with because the person you've lost was like your best friend. You understand? And the thing is, at my age, you have all my friends have people to share with, and then we are all experiencing the same things and we are all excited, and then they're able to tell me that, oh, you know, I told my mom about 1 2 3 1 2 3, and I can't do that because my friends are all I have, all the people I have to share with, if I can say that. Because of course you have family members, but you're not as close with them as you were with the person you lost, and the next people in line are your best friends or your friends, you know. So when you have things to share that you go through, and then you have to hear your friends say, oh, you know, friend, with that situation that we went through, I shared with my mom that uh about the situation, and then you don't have anyone to share with. I think that's when you experience the pain most, because you have to keep it to yourself, you know.
And maybe if I can ask you things such as Mother's Day. I mean, we just had Mother's Day the other day. And I'm sure, as you're saying, your friends will maybe buy things for their moms or say, you know, okay, now we can't go out because of the lockdown, but maybe I had tea with my mom for Mother's Day, or I woke up in the morning and did this for my mom. With you, how do you deal with that situation?
um I mean, of course, it's a very, like, birthdays, Mother's Days, they're very difficult days. But I'm fortunate enough that I have moms, like my friends' moms. I'm very fortunate. I have good relationships with most of them. So I think days like Mother's Days are the days I get to appreciate them, because it's not every day where you get other mothers who are willing to take you in like their own child, you know, because they already have the responsibilities of taking care of their own children, but you are fortunate to be part of that family. So yes, I mean, they're difficult days, but my thing is that you can't you can't live like that forever, because the rest of the world has moved on, and then you can't keep yourself in a box, for lack of a better word, for the rest of your life, because actually people are living their lives. So you have to keep looking at the positives of, at least I'm not like left behind. People actually think of me when they have family trips or whatever. They think of me. I'm not alone, and you don't even feel alone because you have people to rely on and to lean on.
Okay. Now, let's bring in Chief. You are in a position where you actually, maybe like Daisy, you didn't get to hear Daisy, but Daisy, I want to say, she didn't have even enough time to mourn the different deaths that occurred in her family. First her mom, and then her aunt, her mom's sister passed on, and then her husband passed on. So in a short space of time, she had to experience. So I'm comparing that to your situation where you also had your dad pass on, and then another dad pass on. Can you share with us your experience, please, ma'am?
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
And
Morning.
sorry I joined a bit late and missed some of you. Yeah, it was a very difficult situation. More so because I was very close to both my father and my father-in-law. I'm one of those girls that are called daddy's girl. So I grew up as that type of girl, and a girl that my father had so much confidence in. We usually laugh about that even now, to say that my father's confidence in me was overrated. And by saying that, I'm trying to describe the closeness of my relationship with him. And then I got married by a firstborn, being the first daughter-in-law in that family. And I had a very, very close relationship with my father-in-law. I got surprised the extent to which my father-in-law knew me at the occasion of my father's memorial service. At home, I'm regarded as one of the strongest children. So I didn't want to cry in the church and in front of everyone, because, I'm perceived as this strong person. So I walked out of the church, trying to go and find a private space outside to do exactly what I felt like doing at that moment. And I felt like screaming, like real hard. As I started to scream, I heard somebody hugging me from behind. And when I tried to look, it was my father-in-law. And my mother-in-law was standing a few feet away, and my father-in-law was holding me. Amazingly, he said to me, cry, cry, don't stop. And we buried my father, and as I was trying to get to terms with his death, a week later, my father-in-law passed on. What hurt the most about him is that he was not sick. He was strong. He was at my father's funeral. He was speaking at the memorial. He was supporting me and all that. And then the next thing, he got sick, 1, 2, 3, gone. And it was very difficult because, I was still using also the passing of my father to say to my husband, hey, when you must leave me alone, you still have a father. And now I don't have a father. And then a week later, the situation changed, and we didn't have a father. It was difficult. And sometimes when I was crying, to be honest, I didn't know who I was crying for. I didn't know whether I was still crying for my father, or I am now crying for my father-in-law, or whatever. So it was and still is a very difficult situation because it's still very fresh.
Yeah, maybe while you talk about that, to ask Daisy and Irene, in terms of Nziki is saying that after and that's what we all experience, after the funeral people go back to their lives. Now after that has happened, in your case then, including Aura, in your case then you remain alone in this house, well, alone with the children, maybe in this house where you knew that your husband is there, your mom is there, your mom would come back from work, your husband would come back from work, but then she never does come back. So how would you deal with that situation? And like the children as well, how do they deal with that situation, Irene?
For me, I think even now, it's now 4 years that he has passed on, but there's no day that pass without us talking about him. It will be just small things that just crop out in the conversation that we had at that moment. And the children will remind me, oh, mommy, if it was daddy in this situation, he would have reacted in this way. I can say now it's 4 years since he passed on, but he is still in our lives.
Well, before maybe I give other people, I also just want to share one of the things that also make me remember your husband is that I continue to help at UNISA, but he's the one person who all the time made sure that after I submit my reports, I get paid, that I don't have complaints. And he used to encourage me to say we must write articles together, so that he can get me even more involved. So I have that situation where every time my things don't go right in UNISA, I say, I know that if Montesh was here, I know that my things were going to go right, So that is one of the things that I'm just sharing to say, I in a small way, I can understand what you are saying, Okay. Other people?
Melia, dealing with the bereavement afterwards, something else. And then now it was worse because after I buried my husband, it was lockdown. So it was a double lockdown because no one could visit. I couldn't see anybody. I have to stay home with my kids alone. And that was, the bleakest, darkest moments of my life because you don't even have time to say, I can go out to the mall and do what we used to do. Maybe that will have made it better. And, for me now, Horikebe Shapo is his music. My husband loved music. He will play music like when you're angry, he will play relevant music. When you're down, he will play the good gospel. Even when he done a mistake, he will go and put the CD that will talk to you, and he will tell you that if you're angry for me as your husband, okay, talk to me as your friend, as your brother. I'm your father. I say, my father died 20-something years ago. I say, yeah, but now I'm your father. Those things, they keeps me going. But you know what? The space on her side of the bed, I really, he's missing. He's not there. And you end up saying, you know what, Daisy, this man is resting. And mostly, when I was praying, I was asking for peace and happiness. And that's what God gives me. That's why even now, during this lockdown, I'm still surviving this.
Absolutely. Ora?
So it happened in 2018, I think. Yeah, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So in the beginning, I think in the moment, I wasn't in denial. Like I knew what was happening, but I was like not there. I was not there during the funeral week. I was not there. Like I saw people go in and out. I think afterwards, because I didn't have time to myself and time to be alone and process it, was very difficult, because the Monday I had to go back to school. I was still in high school, and I had already missed 2 weeks of school because of the whole funeral week. So Monday I had to go back to school because I had to catch up. And you know how kids are, everybody wants to ask you and talk to you, and you can't even be like rude or whatever. Like you can't even tell people that you want your own space because you're at school. Obviously everyone is concerned and all that. And then on top of that, my little sister got sick the same year, like a month or two after, and she's diabetic, so it was like in and out of hospital. It was crazy, and I was very, very scared because my sister had the same issue my mom had on top of her diabetes. So obviously in the moment you're also scared for her life. You're thinking, what if I lose this person as well? Like I'm going to be alone. And you're trying to deal with all these emotions, and you have schoolwork to do, and you're trying to be a kid. So it was the time afterwards, it was very, very difficult. I think I'm better now,
Yeah.
because as days go by, you learn to, you're not okay with it, but you learn to live. You realize that life goes on, but it was a very, very tough year for me.
Okay, Chief.
Yeah. Mina, I think, guys, we should dispel this myth of perceiving crying as a sign of weakness. That I'm crying doesn't mean I'm weak. It doesn't mean I'm not strong. And that I'm still crying and I still want to cry and I still cry whenever shouldn't be perceived as a sign of weakness. And I think that's what gets people to be sick afterwards and not to cope afterwards, because at the end of the day, irrespective of when, you are going to be alone.
Yes.
And when you are alone, all that thing is going to come back to you.
Ora, do you find that you shared with us that at some stage you were worried about your little sister because she was also in and out of hospital and so on?
So when she was sick, they were saying that, you know how, especially as Black people, we like saying, ngwana, o tshwere ke eng?" Kids can't go through depression, whatnot. To find that it might have actually been that because, she was a child, and then she's used to having her mom around, and all of a sudden that person's not there, and she had to move to another home. So also now I'm not there as well. She's living with my grandparents, and she was not used to that. So she was going through that whole phase of not understanding. But obviously she was like 3, so she couldn't voice it, and she didn't know how to voice the change and to ask questions. So then they had said that no, kids do go through depression, and that's why she's also very sick like that. She's a child, and she doesn't understand what's going on, but she can see that things are different. And I think that's when I really got scared, because now you don't even know how to ask her how she's feeling. Is she okay? Things are going to get better, because she's a child, and you don't know to what extent she's actually dealing with the whole situation. So I was very, very scared for her, because I'm thinking, okay, at least I'm going to therapy at school. I have people to talk to. She doesn't have that, because she doesn't know how to express what's going on through her mind. So I was very, very scared for that as well.
All right, guys, but thank you so, so much for this conversation that we had today. I think I can conclude by just summarizing that there will be good days and bad days, but we also have got that belief that We will never understand why our loved ones are taken from us, but we do believe that they are in a better place, you know. I don't
Yeah.
believe they
True.
forget about us. And we also, while we unfortunately still carry the pain, but we will never forget them. They've impacted us in
Mm.
whichever way. But my prayer is that you will continue to heal. And I'm also giving this opportunity, you know, that if you feel you want to talk or you want us to have this engagement again, whether it's a husband, it's a mom, or it's whoever, bereavement is bereavement, you know. So it helps sometimes just
Yeah.
for us to get
True.
together and talk. So this is an open platform that I'm saying that if there is a need, let's contact me and I'll put people together and we can just share. Don't suffer alone.